All right, folks, this is our last video of the semester. This is our benchmark review. I'm playing Vivaldi in the background. This video is going to go rather fast. I am not going to go into a lot of detail on each question. I'm just going to go ahead and do the math and move on. That way you have an answer key. If you need more detail and more explanation, you say the word, and I will send it on your way. Okay. Miss Rankin made this for us, so her name is at the top of the paper there. Thank you, Miss Rankin. And we are going to be going through these questions. I would like you to go ahead and try them yourself. The PDF is on Edmodo. If you absolutely need a paper copy, we can talk about that in class, or we will have already at this point, I guess. I'm just going to get moving, okay? So let's get started. All right, first question. The statement, if 1/2 x equals 5, then x equals 10, is justified by which property? Well, what I would do to solve that would be to multiply both sides by 2. And if I'm multiplying both sides by the same number, that is a property of equality. So it's not the commutative property. It's not an addition property because I'm multiplying. It's not associative because I'm not changing grouping. Multiplication property of equality. Number 2, what is the solution of the following equation? We're going to go ahead and start with distributing. So 6x plus 36 equals negative 10x minus 10 minus 5.2. And alright, so I'm going to combine like terms. I have 6x plus 36. Like terms over here, minus 10 minus 5.2, so that's minus 15.2. Okay, I see the decimal there. I could multiply everything by 10, but I think that's a little overkill here. We can leave that decimal. I'm going to add 10x to each side. So add 10x to each side. 16x plus 36 equals negative 15.2. We're going to subtract 36 from each side. Minus 36 minus 36. So now I have 16x equals negative 51.2. Goodness, I hope I'm doing the math correctly on this. I'm not using a calculator, and I'm doing it in my head here. All right, 16 into negative 51.2. All right, and that's going to be negative 3.2, which is A, right there. Last one on this page, 14 minus 3d is less than 8d minus 22 plus 7d. So we're solving an inequality just like solving an equation. And remember what we learned. We're going to start with combining like terms, which we have right here. 15d minus 22. And now I'm going to add 3d to each side. That way I can avoid worrying about a negative. And at the same time, I'm going to go ahead and add 22 to each side. Giving me 36 is less than 18d. Divide both sides by 18. And 2 is less than d, or d is greater than 2. 2 is less than d, or d is greater than 2. There it is right there, B. Okay, moving on. Okay, so we're now looking at a proof. Remember, the proof is written with the steps of the math and the reasons next to it, and we are using something to justify step 2 here, using a property to justify step 2. So what they do in step 2? Well, I subtracted 5 from each side of this inequality. The inequality is 2x plus 5 is less than 33. It's minus 5 from each side. So immediately my eye is drawn to the word subtraction. Well, associative property is about grouping, and it's definitely not addition. Distributive property we would recognize pretty clearly. That's when we're distributing a multiplication. And again, distributive property of addition. So no. Subtraction, that's our property. Subtraction property of inequality. Additive inverse would be if I were actually adding a number in its opposite, which I am not doing. So that's subtraction property of inequality, just like subtraction property of equality, except for an inequality. Next one, the cost to rent a dump truck. Cost to rent a dump truck is $50 per day, puts 26 per hour of use. What's the number of hours the truck can be used each day if the rental cost should not exceed $193 per day? Well, if you know you have to have $50 for the day, plus 26 per hour of use. And we don't want that to be any more than 93. Okay, so, or 193, excuse me. So what's the best way for us to do this question? Well, this would be the amount you spend per day, $50 plus the 26 per hour. And we don't want that to be bigger than 193, so we want it to be less than 193. But we can't exceed 193, so it could be equal to 193. So anyway, this is what we're going to solve. Now, we could have made it equal directly because they just gave us values over here like we're solving an equation. So it's 50 plus 26h is equal to 193. We're going to subtract 50 from each side. 26h is equal to 143. All right, and what does that come out to be when I divide it? Let's see, 26 goes about 5 times, so let's test out that answer, 5.5. I'm not using a calculator at the moment. I should be, because it would make this go a lot faster, wouldn't it? But that's okay. 30 and 10. I'm just going to pick up a calculator. How sad is that your math teacher is having trouble doing math without a bloody calculator? Well, conveniently, and that's one of the cool things we'll learn about iOS 7 with your iPads, 7th graders, your calculator is actually quite accessible. So 143 divided by 26, 5.5. That's what I thought it was anyway. Okay, what's the slope of the line that passes through the points 3, -3 and 0, -3? Same y value for each. So when I start using my slope formula, y minus y over x minus x, these cancel and I get 0 over 3, which is just equal to 0, which is D. Number 7, what's the slope of the equation of a line that passes through the point 10, 4 and has a y-intercept of -4? We've seen this question. This was on another assessment that we had. Remember, a y-intercept of -4 is a point. That's a point. That's the point 0, -4. And now that I think, now that I realize that, now that I have that point written down, I have two ordered pairs. Y minus y over x minus x, 8 over 10, or 4/5. And we are done with that one. Moving on. Okay, what's the slope of the line -3y equals 12x plus 6? In order to find the slope, we're going to have to solve this for y, because we want our equation to be in the form y equals mx plus b. So we're going to divide by -3, divide by -3, divide by -3. Y equals -4x minus 2. Ooh, y, there we go. And y-intercept here, we want the slope, -4. D. Next one, what is the apparent slope of the line graphed below? Well, find any point I can tell where it passes through, find another one where I can tell it passes through, find the rise and the run. The rise is -2, the run is 5. Do it again over here. The rise is 2, the run is -5. So -2/5 is my slope. Number 10, which is an equation for the line that passes through the points 0, 1, and 6, -1. Remember, you can use our dirty little secret of linear regression on the calculator to do questions like this and find the answer directly. But if I don't have that, I'm going to have to go ahead and use point-slope form and whatever other information I can glean or take from the two ordered pairs they give me. And I'll tell you what I mean by that in a minute. So y minus y, 2 over x minus x, -6, which is -1/3. So I know my slope is -1/3, and I know the answer can't be C or D. If you look carefully, this is a special point. We know what that is. That's our y-intercept. If that's our y-intercept, then I know that +1 has to be my y-intercept in the equation, and B is our correct answer. Going to do a few more questions tonight and finish the rest of this tomorrow because I am super tired. Which line best represents the graph of 5y plus 2x equals 10? I can do a couple different things here. I could find x and y-intercepts, x-intercept and the y-intercept. I could solve for y. I could, well, that's basically it, one of the two, okay? I'm going to solve for y. 5y plus 2x equals 10. Subtract our 2x from each side. 5y equals -2x plus 10. Divide everything by 5. Y equals -2/5 x plus 2. All right, so I know I have a y-intercept of 2. So this isn't it, and this isn't it, and that's not it, and that's got to be it by process of elimination. Negative 2/5 slope, yep, that looks right. Number 12. Which could be the equation for the line shown on the grid? Well, let's go ahead and just write the equation for the line shown on the grid. Let's pretend we don't see any of those choices there underneath. Y-intercept is going to be 2 because it passes through the y-axis at 2. Okay, the slope, well, let's see if we can find another ordered pair where it passes right through. I think it's going to be that one right there. It looks like it's going to be that one right there. That ordered pair is 5, 4. And so we can use our slope up 2, positive 2, over 5, positive 5. 2/5 is the slope. And 2/5 is the slope in this last equation, and that's D. All right, let's see if we can trudge on one more page. Okay, number 13. Which graph best represents the equation of the line with slope of 1 and a y-intercept of -3? Y-intercept is going to be the fastest way to eliminate some possibilities because that's just looking right on the graph. -3 could be C, couldn't be D because that's got it at -1, and can't be A because that's got one at 3. Both the other ones are fine. All right, the other one says a slope of 1. Slope of 1, a slope of positive 1. And this line goes downhill. And remember your Mr. Slope guy. Ta-da! Negative slope, not the one we're looking for. B is your answer. Which graph could not represent a function? Well, what do we use to check for a function? We use a vertical line test. So make yourself a little vertical line. Let me see if I can get the images to work nicely on here. And let's make, all right, there's a nice blue vertical line. Can I move it? Yep. All right, vertical line test. Passes. This one, A, passes. B, passes. Never is it touching more than 1 point. Look at that. That's not going to work. Okay, it is a vertical line, not a function. So the correct answer for this one was B. All right, 15. Oh, hey, this object thingy doesn't move. Let me see if I can get rid of it. There we go. All right, 15. 15, the ordered pairs in the set below are shown in the form x, y, in which set is of ordered pairs is y a function of x. Okay, in order to make sure it's a function, we're looking for repeated x values. And do we have any of those here? Well, we got 1, 2, 3. So this one's okay. 0, 0, 4. Nope. 2 zeros. Can't be B. -6, 1, 1. 2 ones. Can't be C. 7, 7, 7. 3 sevens. Definitely can't be D. A is our correct answer. Gonna stop for today. Gonna record the rest of the slides tomorrow, the rest of the test. It's only 10 more questions, but you'll have it up and ready in time for your long weekend. Just remember that if you're watching this question by question, you do not have to. You are absolutely allowed to fast forward to the answers. Okay. See you later, guys. Okay, guys, gonna finish up this video here at school. I apologize for any ambient noises that bother us here. Okay, so looking at the graph of this function, it has these constraints. Now this is new. I know it looks funky, but don't get too nervous. X is between -3 and 7. Y is between -9 and 11. So they want to know what are the coordinates for each of those points. Well, if the lowest possible point for X is -3, then that means that your X value on one of the points has to be -3. So that would be, let's see, here, 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 and here. So that's good. And then the Y value for that, which would be the highest Y value, would be 11. So I know my -3 needs to go with 11. That's this one, not this one. This one, not this one. See how it's the highest Y value? Because it's up the highest on the graph. Now this one is the lowest B value, but the highest X value. So highest X value here is going to be 7. So I know I've got an X of 7 in the other ordered pair, so it can't be this one. Could be this one. Could be this one. Can't be this one. So right now it's not A, it's not C. So looking at the lowest Y value possible, that's -9. That's here. So 7, -9, and -3, 11. Okay, but now, I neglected to notice this, we have to look at which one's A, which one's B. 7, negative 9 is the furthest to the right, so that's the furthest positive x, so B is our correct answer. Oof, that was an ugly one. All right, next question. Let's switch to another color because I definitely don't like writing in black for some reason. 17, which table represents a direct variation? So what we should be doing here is figuring out which one shows a direct variation by using the ratio. Direct variation, remember, is y equals kx. If you solve for k, you get y over x. So let's find that ratio throughout. 6 over 9, that is 2/3. Ooh, sorry. 2 over negative 6 is negative 1/3. I can stop now because remember what k for constant means. It means it stays the same. And those two are not the same, so A cannot be my answer. Coming over here, y over x is 3. Y over x is 3. Y over x is 3. And y over x also 3. So I think it's B, but we'll check the other ones just to be sure. 6 over 12, 1/2. 4 over 8, 1/2. Negative 1 over negative 2, 1/2. Uh-oh. 2 over negative 4, uh-oh, negative 1/2. And that's the one that ruins it. C is not a direct variation. 4 over negative 8 is negative 1/2. 0 over 0 is definitely 0, which would be okay with a direct variation, actually, because 0 over 0 is not really 0, it's undefined. But that would be okay with a direct variation because that actually is the point that all direct variations go through. But since this was negative, and the next one is 2 over 4, and that's positive, the answer can't be D either. So B is the only correct answer. Next page. All right. So this one, we got number 18. We have, which is an equation for the inverse variation that includes this data. If I know it's an inverse variation, I know this is the formula, y equals k over x. I can also solve for k, multiplying both sides by x, and I get xy equals k. So I want to know the combination, the constant of variation, the product x times y. So let's find the product of each xy. 15, 15, 15, and 20 times 0.75, also 15. So that means my 15 goes in the spot for k in this formula. So y equals 15 over x, or xy equals 15. Now I'll look at my answer choices. 15 over x is A. Ah, awesome. 19, which is an equation for the direct variation, includes the data. Again, y equals k times x. K is y over x. So if I'm finding that, that means I want to be able to find the value of k, and I can very quickly notice C and A are linear, but they're not direct variations. Because it's not y equals kx plus something, it's just y equals kx. So it's either B or D. So let's go ahead and find that constant y over x. So for the first ordered pair, it's 1/2. For the second ordered pair, it's 2/4, which is also 1/2. And finally 4/8, which is also 1/2. All right, so that's y equals 1/2 x. And remember, that's the same thing as saying y equals x over 2. Right there. All right, next page. Number 20. Which one shows that y varies directly as x? Well, what's the important ordered pair in a direct variation? It's 0. So k times 0 gives me 0 no matter what k is. It's 0, 0. So which ones go through the origin? Well, this one kind of does, but what's going on with this curvy thing here? That is definitely not a direct variation. We learned that they're straight lines. This one doesn't go through the origin, and neither does this one. A is your correct answer. What is it? It's y equals 1/2 x again, just like that previous problem, actually. Fabulous. More direct variations. Actually, no, inverse variations this time. So we did direct before. Let's switch colors. I've been using the same color for a while here. All right. Y equals k over x, or xy equals k. We're going to be looking at the product xy. That's what we want to stay constant. 1 times 0.25 is 0.25. 14 times 3.5 is definitely not equal to 0.25, so I'm not even going to stress about it. It can't be A. 2 times 1 is 2. Oh, not 2 times 2. Oh, no. Well, that didn't do what I wanted it to. Hold on. Let's go back here. 2 times 1, thank you, 2. 6 times 3, 18. Definitely not B. 2 times 6, 12. 9 times 1, 9. Definitely not C. 2 times 1, 1. Oh, 2. I'm in trouble with that one today, aren't I? 25 times 8 hundredths. 25 times 8 hundredths. Well, I'm lazy. I'm not getting a calculator right now, so I'm going to do this. Simplifying. It's 8 over 4. That's 2. I think I found the answer, which is smart because, or which is good, I should say, because the other ones didn't work. 40 times 5 hundredths. All right, well, I could knock off a 0, a 0. This would be a 2. This would be a 5. So this would be 5 over 5 times 2. That's 2. How about, oh, so that's that one. How about this one? 50 times 4 hundredths. 50 goes into 100 twice. 4 over 2 is 2. That's it. That's my inverse variation. Tough because of those decimals, but, you know, with your calculator, I'm sure you could do it quite a bit faster. 2 more pages, guys. Almost done with this. 22. The table below shows the relation between number of students in science classes and the predicted number of students in each class going on a field trip. All right, we want an equation for this data, and that means I would use a graphing calculator. Let's run through the steps just in words here. We know we start with stat, and that means then we edit 2 lists. L1 gets my x values, L2 gets my y values. We go back to stat, calc, and we want linear regression, which is choice number 4. Now, I gotta move away from the iPad for a second. Gotta get a calculator. Hold on. Okay, almost back. And I'm back at the iPad again. And I'm gonna go ahead and use my calculator and find this best fit equation. So I'm gonna put 20, 24, 28, and 30 in for x's, list 1. 13, 15, 17, and 18 in list 2, stat, calc, linear regression, and calculate. And I get the equation y equals 1/2, or 0.5. I get a equals 0.5. Okay, so it doesn't say 0 point. And I know I told you it should say that, so shame on Texas Instruments. So 1/2 is 0.5 for A, x plus b is 3, and that's choice D. 3 more questions. The scatter plot here shows the relationship between dog years and human years, which apparently is not a straight line. I always thought it was 1 to 7, but okay, whatever. What's the closest minimum age of a dog to be at least 60? What is the closest to the minimum age of a dog to be at least 60 human years of age? Oh, weird. Okay. Well, where would 60 be? It would be way up here, wouldn't it? Be way up here. So I'm going to draw a best fit line, and this is where we're crossing here. And you see what I did there? So here's 55. This would be 50. See, here's 50, so this would be 60 right here. So right here. Sorry about that. Right here. Okay, right there. Which is right at 10. Okay, which is the closest to what I got if I had gone up too far, too. This would be 65. I went too far. This was 60. So you see what I'm doing? I'm looking at the trend. I'm looking at where the dots are headed. Where is the scatter plot going? Okay, so we don't have to put the numbers into the calculator. I just need to draw a line. And if you're on the benchmark, remember you have your test tools that you can use in order to draw on the test. Ooh, look at this guy with his eyes. They kind of came out funky. Yeah, okay, anyway, last page. All right. The graph represents the relationship between the bags of popcorn sold and the amount of profit made during the Newton Honor Society popcorn sale. What is the closest to the minimum number of bags that must be sold to make a $200 profit? Now you can do this one. This one is, get a pen tool. There we go. This one basically does make a straight line. So you can just use the straight line, okay, and predict. But you can also, on this one, you could go ahead and use ordered pairs on this one. So I could use the ordered pair 2010, and another one 40-20, and so on. But if you notice, you can tell the y-intercept, which is 0, and you can find the slope here. Up 10, right 10. So 10 over 10, which is, oh, no. Try that again, Miss LeCompte. Up 10, right 20. 10 over 20, which is 1/2. So I could use the equation created with that information. I'll come over here with it, which is y equals 1/2 x plus 0, or just y equals 1/2 x. So apparently they make half of what they sell in profit. So what's the closest to the minimum number of bags to make a $200 profit? We'd put 200 in for y and solve for x. Remember that when you have a coefficient that's a fraction here, you multiply to get rid of it, not multiply by 1/2, but multiply by 2. A number times its reciprocal cancel out. And we get 400, which is D. Last question, my friends. I know it's a long video. Hopefully you feel well prepared for the benchmark at this point, though. A student who waits on tables in a restaurant recorded the cost of meals X and the tip Y left by diners. If the next diner orders a meal costing $10.50, how much of a tip should the waiter expect to receive? So this is, again, not perfectly linear, so we want to do linear regression. It's not going to be perfectly linear because we don't all tip the same. Okay, we should all tip, but we don't all tip the same. So again, we're going to go to stat, calc, etc., etc. So I'm going to go into my calculator. I'm going to go to stat and edit. I know you don't have a calculator at home, but you can remind yourself of what we're doing in order to fill the numbers in. Remember that you can either clear the memory or you can clear the lists. Okay, clear the memory or clear lists. If you have calculator questions before you start the exam, or the benchmark, I should say, just ask. Okay, just ask. I'm going to make meal cost my X's, $4.75, $6.84, $12.52, $20.42, and $8.97. Now I'm going to double check what I typed in. $8.97, $20.42, $12.52, $6.84, $4.75. I'll put the tips in Y. 0.5, 0.9. Ooh, crappy tips. Of course, they're not really crappy tips. They're just small tips because this person works at a diner where the meals don't cost very much. All right, and so again, checking my Y's, 1, 3, 1.5, 0.9, 0.5. Okay. Stat, calc, linear regression, go down to calculate, enter. And I get y equals 0.175x. I'm rounding off. It's 17465, not blah, blah, blah. But I'm going to round off to 3 decimal places. Minus 0.579. There's our equation. We are taking a meal price of $10.50, which is an x, and we're plugging it in. 0.175 times $10.50 minus 0.579. I'm going to do it on my calculator. 0.175 times $10.50 minus 0.579. That didn't work at all. Okay, hold on. I did something wrong. I'm going to pause it and figure it out. Not a clue what I did wrong the first time. I just did it again and it came out perfectly fine. 1.2585. And what's closest to that? $1.25. $1.25, which is B. Awesome. I know it was long. If you have any trouble accessing the PDF or accessing the video, well, obviously you didn't if you're hearing me. So if you have trouble accessing the PDF, let me know. I can send it to you as an email directly. Hopefully you're doing this early in your long weekend and not late, 11 p.m. on Monday night. And I hope you enjoyed your long weekend. And I will see you guys for the exam and the benchmark in class.